the bitter well of Marah and the manna from heaven. Moses led the Israelites from the Red Sea. You remember they crossed the Red Sea into the wilderness. And after 3 days in the wilderness, they didn't find any water. They came to Marah, but the water there was bitter. That's why they called it Marah, which means bitterness. And the people murmured against poor Moses. What shall we drink? Moses cried to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a tree, which he cut down and threw into the waters, and it made the waters sweet. And God told them, if you will listen carefully to the voice of the Lord your God, and will do what is right in his eyes, and will listen to all his commandments and obey his laws, I will not bring upon you any of those diseases which I brought upon the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you. Then they came to Elim, and at Elim there were 12 wells of water and 70 palm trees, and they camped by the waters. It's rather like our journey after we're baptized, after we cross the Red Sea in the desert. There are times of refreshing where we're encouraged. But they had to leave Elim and go on, and they came again into the wilderness. And again the children of Israel murmured, they complained, and that's a big weakness for all of us, to complain. And they said, it would have been better for us to die by the hand of the Lord in Egypt, when we sat down and had plenty of food and bread. But you've brought us out into this wilderness to kill us with hunger.
Now, but the Israelites didn't probably get much to eat, would they?
Not in Egypt they didn't, but they imagined that the world was better than it really was. Then God said to Moses, well, I will rain bread down from heaven for you, and the people will go out and gather a certain amount every day. And this will be a test to them to see whether they obey my laws or not. And on the 6th day they will gather what they bring in, and gather twice as much as they gather on the other days. That was so they didn't have to work on the Sabbath. So Moses and Aaron said to all the Israelites, when the evening comes, you will know that it is the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt. When morning comes, you will see the Lord's glory. He has heard your murmurings against him. And your murmurings aren't against us, for who are we, but against the Lord. And while Aaron was speaking to the children of Israel, they looked out over the desert, and there they saw the glory of the Lord appear in a cloud.
And later on you read that there was manna, and they gathered the manna and ate it. They probably were very good at gathering stuff, because they would have had lots and lots of practice in Egypt.
That's right. So God spoke to Moses, saying, I have heard the murmuring of the children of Israel. Speak to them and say, in the evening you will eat meat, and in the morning you will have your bread, and you will know that I am the Lord your God. So in the evening, quails, that's birds, big fat birds, meaty birds, they flew up all over the camp. And in the morning, dew lay all around the people. And when the dew disappeared, they saw lying on the face of the desert small, round things that looked like frost. Moses told them, this is the bread which the Lord has given you to eat. And this is what the Lord says, you are to gather a certain amount, an omer, for each person, depending on how many you have to feed. And each person is to gather for those who live in his encampment. So the children of Israel went out and gathered the manna, the bread. Some took more, some took less. But when they measured it with an omer, those who had gathered more had nothing over, and those who had gathered little had enough. Each person had enough to feed the people that he had to feed. Don't leave any of it until the morning, Moses said. But they did not listen to Moses, and some of them left it until the next morning. And it bred worms, and it stunk. So Moses was angry with them. So every morning they gathered the bread, every man according to those whom he had to feed. And when the sun arose, it melted. And on the 6th day they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for every person. And Moses said to them, this is what the Lord has said. Tomorrow is the day of rest, the Sabbath. Bake what you want to bake today, boil what you want to boil, and you can save what is left to keep for tomorrow. So they laid it up until the next morning, as Moses told them, and it didn't stink. Moses told them, "Eat today, for today is the Lord's Sabbath. Today you will not find bread out in the fields. There are 6 days to gather it, but on the Sabbath, the 7th day, there will be none." But some of the people still went out on the 7th day to gather, and they found none. And the Lord said to Moses, "How long will you refuse to keep my laws? I've given you the Sabbath. I give you the bread for 2 days on the 6th day. So let nobody go out to look for food on the 7th day." The Israelites called the name of this bread manna. The taste of it was like wafers made with honey. And Moses spoke to the people, saying, "The Lord has commanded that an omer of this manna must be kept for future generations, so that they may see the bread which was given you in the desert, when you came out from the land of Egypt." So Aaron took a pot and put an omer of manna into it, to be kept for this purpose. And the Israelites ate manna for 40 years, until they came to the land of Canaan.